Part 109. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1081. Chapter 1081. Why are you here? Thinking of this, Mike looked at Wei Zheng and smiled. Mr. Mo is too polite. Although our little Tutu and Miss Jiao don't have a good relationship, and they rarely communicate with each other on the set, they are still good friends, at least colleagues. Under such circumstances, how could little Tutu watch Miss Jiao being hurt? Even if it wasn't Miss Jiao at that time, he would have done that to someone else on the crew. We, little Tutu, have always been the same, a warm-hearted and kind-hearted child. His two sentences clearly explain the relationship between Jiao Mian and Tu Yuli. The two of them have a very ordinary friendship. Although he said this to Wei Zheng, he actually said it to Mo Yesi. His little Tutu needs the help of the man named Mo very much. This kind of thing must not affect Xiao Tutu's future career. Wei Zheng understood immediately. He curled his lips, nodded and said, Mr. Tu is such a good man. Mike. Asterisk. When Jiao Mian walked into the ward, she saw Tu Yuli holding a book and reading it. Hearing the sound of footsteps, he raised his head. When he saw the person walking in was Jiao Mian, he was obviously startled. Jiao Mian walked to the bedside with the flowers she bought, bent down and put them in the vase on the bedside table, then lowered her head and said hello to him. Senior Tu, I didn't affect your rest. Tu Yuli looked at her blankly, and after a while, he came back to his senses. I just woke up for a while. Why are you here? I wanted to come and see how you are doing now. After knowing Tu Yuli's thoughts about her, Jiao Mian always felt a little uncomfortable when she saw him again. Especially when two people are alone in a room. After chatting for a few words, she didn't know what to say. Senior Tu, how do you feel now? Does the wound on your hand still hurt? Jiao Mian glanced at his injured hand. The burns on the back of his hand were still shocking. She couldn't help but feel guilty. How could he have suffered like this if it weren't for her? Although he didn't say anything, she knew that her hands were corroded and the wounds must be very painful. Tu Yuli saw her guilt and self-blame, and a relaxed smile appeared on his face. He smiled and said to her, it's much better now, and the wound doesn't hurt much. In a few days, I can be discharged from the hospital. Treated. Miss Jiao, I'm glad you came to see me. You really don't have to worry about me anymore, I'll be fine. The more he said this, the more Jiao Mian felt guilty. But she didn't know what to say to him. For a moment, the two of them seemed to be unable to find anything to say, and they were silent to each other. After a minute, Tu Yuli said, Ms. Jiao, I'm really sorry about the behavior of my fans. I didn't expect that they would react so fiercely and attack you. If it's because of what they did to you, I'm sorry on their behalf. He was talking about his fans attacking her before. It is impossible to say that it had no impact on her at all. She is not mentally strong enough to ignore the abuse and attacks. But things happen for a reason. Fans are also too worried and distressed about their idols. Jiao Mian felt that the attacks she received were nothing compared to the injuries suffered by Tu Yuli. Senior Tu, you don't have to feel sorry for me. You can't control the behavior of your fans. And they also feel sorry for you, which I can understand. Besides, that matter has been resolved, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1082. Chapter 1082. She still feels sad. After hearing what she said, Tu Yuli lowered his eyes and was silent for a while, then nodded. Jiao Mian chatted with him about some future plans. Nearly half an hour later, she was ready to leave. Ms. Jiao, can I ask you a more personal question? Jiao Mian had already reached the door, when Tu Yuli suddenly called out to her again. Chiao Mian stopped and turned her head to look at him doubtfully. What does Senior 2 want to ask me? Tuyuli I hesitated for several seconds before meeting her eyes and asked in a low voice, Miss Chiao, is your boyfriend good to you? Are you happy with him? Chiao Mian was a little surprised. Senior Tuesday. Tuyuli I immediately said, if Miss Chiao doesn't want to answer, you can pretend that I didn't ask. Chiao Mian thought it would be good to take this opportunity to explain things clearly to him. If he really has any thoughts about her, he can give up early. After thinking for a moment, she said, Senior 2, do you want to listen to the truth? Tuyuli I, of course. Chiao Mian smiled, nodded, and then continued, he is very good to me, and I am very happy with him. In fact, there is something that even my agent doesn't know, but I think Senior will definitely keep it a secret for me, so I decided to tell you. Senior 2, I am actually married. My boyfriend is my husband because I have signed a contract with the company. Our relationship cannot be made public for the time being. Tuyuli's face suddenly changed and he looked at her in disbelief. Are you married? Yechiao Mian nodded, her eyes calm. Tuyuli kept his shocked expression and didn't make a sound for a long time. The face that was already a little haggard looked a little pale. Asterisk. After seeing Tuyuli, Chiao Mian flew back to Yunchinj. After getting off the plane, she followed Wei Zheng to Mo's. When she arrived at Mo's, she found that Mo Yesi was not in the company, but had gone out to talk to people. Chiao Mian was waiting for him in his office. She got up early in the morning, flew back and forth for several hours, waited, and then fell asleep in the office. Woke up again, opened his eyes, and found her sleeping on a small bed in the lounge. She then knew that Mo Yesi was back. This time, she slept for more than 3 hours, and when she woke up, she felt much more energetic. She walked out of the lounge and saw Mo Yesi sitting at his desk, looking at the computer screen intently, his fingers tapping rapidly on the keyboard. He is obviously working very seriously. But as soon as Chiao Mian walked out of the lounge, he turned his head and looked straight at her. Before he spoke, a doting smile appeared in his eyes. Baby, you wake up, sleep okay? Chiao Mian walked towards him. He was still half a meter away from him when he stretched out his hand and pulled her into his arms. She fell into the man's arms, and strong arms wrapped around her waist. Before she could say a word, he held her chin and kissed her. A few minutes later, Chiao Mian lay in his arms, panting gently, her face stained with a layer of crimson. Mo Yesi stretched out his hand to comb her hair, touched her blushing cheek and whispered, I'm almost done with what I'm doing. What do you want to do in the evening? Chiao Mian checked the time, it was quite early. How about we meet Chen Chen and have dinner together? Chiao Mian hasn't seen Chiao Chen for a while, and she misses him quite a bit. Mo Yesi nodded, okay, let's pick up Chen Chen first. I haven't seen him for a while. Mo Yesi still likes his brother-in-law very much. Although this liking is also due to Chiao Mian, Chiao Chen himself is also very likable. After confirming this matter, Chiao Mian sent a WeChat message to Chiao Chen. Asterisk. Chiao Chen usually lives in the school. Because Chiao Mian went to F City to film, so even though he had his own room at Mo Yesi's place, he still stayed at the school during the weekend holidays and did not go to live at Mo Yesi's place. Although Mo Yesi is already his brother-in-law. But the time he spent with this brother-in-law was not long after all. Chiao Chen was very happy to receive Chiao Mian's WeChat message. He and Chiao Mian haven't seen each other for a while. He has a deep relationship with this sister, and even though the time apart is not very long, he still misses her. After the siblings agreed on a time, Chiao Chen went back to the dormitory to change his clothes, then went to the school gate to wait in advance. While waiting, a black Bentley drove over and slowly stopped beside him. Jiao Chen's expression changed slightly when he saw the black Bentley beside him. Soon, he saw a familiar petite figure walking out of the door and walking towards the parked black Bentley. Seeing Jiao Chen standing on the side of the street, the petite figure paused for a moment. After meeting his eyes for a few seconds, he continued walking forward. Jiao Chen wanted to turn around and leave, but his feet seemed to have roots and he couldn't take a step forward. When that petite figure walked past him, he straightened his body, and the two hands hanging by his sides were clenched into fists. He turned his head away and cast his gaze on the busy street, deliberately not looking at her. But even so, there was still her figure in the peripheral vision. Still pay attention to her. Jiao Chen. The petite figure passing by him suddenly stopped and called him softly. Jiao Chen's body instantly tensed up. For a moment, my heartbeat quickened. He took a deep breath, clenched his fists, and turned around slowly. Shen Xian stood not far from him, looking at him quietly. Jiao Chen raised his head, met her eyes, was silent for a while, and then said, "Classmate Shen, what's the matter?" Hearing his address, Shen Xian's lips curved into a bitter smile. "It's nothing, so I saw you and wanted to say hello. Are you going somewhere? Do you want, I'll take you there." Jiao Chen was startled, shook his head and refused, "Thank you, but my sister will come to pick me up soon." Is that so? Shen Xian knew that he probably didn't lie to her, but she still felt sad. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1083. Chapter 1083. Is it wrong to like someone? She thought about giving up. Also determined to give up. A person who doesn't like her, should she keep pestering him? What she thought was infatuation was just a stalker that disgusted him in his eyes. She doesn't want to give up her last bit of self-esteem just because she likes someone. But it's really hard to give up someone you've loved for so many years. Every time she sees him, her heart still stirs up, and she still can't help but pay attention to him. She also felt that she was not up to par. Shen Xian is not so bad that no one likes or wants her, so why should she continue to put her hot face on other people's cold buttocks? Why should you like someone who doesn't like her no matter how hard she tries? But she knew everything in her heart. Once they meet, her mood will still be affected uncontrollably. His coldness and alienation were like a sharp knife across her heart, which made her want to cry. Her eyes were wet, but she would never cry in front of him. She is Shen Xian, the second young lady of the Shen family. She will not show her humble side in front of a man. Having done something humble once is enough. Yet Jiao Chen nodded lightly and said no more. Shen Xian felt that she should leave now that this was the case. He made it clear that he didn't want to talk to her anymore. Her self-esteem and pride were telling her that she should leave immediately. She doesn't need to be here to make people think she's annoying. However, her mind is very clear about everything, but her body does not listen to her. She looked at Jiao Chen with a pale face and was silent for a while. Maybe it was because there was too much pain somewhere in her heart. Even when her nails dug into her palms, she didn't feel the pain anymore. She looked at him for a while and pursed her lips. "Jiao Chen, do you hate me? Do you feel annoyed when you see me?" Jiao Chen was stunned for a moment and frowned slightly. "No, why do you think so?" He never disliked her. Shen Xian's lips were also a little pale. "No. But I think, you hate me. Every time I see her, I pretend to turn a blind eye. Either the attitude is very cold. Obviously he doesn't treat others like this. He is a boy with a good personality and a bright personality. He is very friendly to every student in the class. Only for her. His attitude was so cold that they were more like strangers than classmates who had been sitting at the same table for several years. Perhaps he won't be so indifferent to strangers. She didn't know what she had done wrong to let him treat her like this. Is it just because she likes him? Is it wrong to like someone? Does her liking make him so disgusted? Shen Xian is also the apple of the eye of Father Shen and Mother Shen at home, and because of her status as the second young lady of the Shen family, she has been supported by others since she was a child. She is surrounded by all kinds of boys who are attentive to her. She didn't even know why she was so mean. She didn't like anyone who was good to her, but she still liked someone who didn't take her seriously. No, even though Jiao Chen didn't want to give Shen Xian any more hope, he didn't want her to think that he hated her. Shen Xian, I don't hate you. I didn't before and I don't now. Don't think too much. Then why are you so cold to me? Thinking of his indifference these days, Shen Xian felt aggrieved and uncomfortable. She held back the tears in her eyes and said, Jiao Chen, I know you don't like me. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1084. Chapter 1084 I can disappear from you. I also said that I won't pester you again, so you don't have to deliberately avoid me. I like you, but no matter how much I like you, I will never bother you regardless of your wishes. Even if we can't be lovers, we can still be classmates. You know, you are very nice to everyone in the class, but you are so cold to me. I have wondered more than once whether I did something wrong to make you hate me so much. Is that so? I shouldn't appear in front of you and make you upset. If you really annoy me, I'm afraid I will continue to pester you. I can change schools, Jiao Chen. After saying these words, Shen Xian felt that she felt a lot more relaxed all of a sudden. She really thought about changing schools. She wants to forget Jiao Chen and not like him anymore. However, with him hanging in front of her eyes like this every day, how could she forget about him? She wondered if she could quickly forget him as long as she could no longer see him. If she changes schools, if she and he are no longer in the same school or in the same class, from now on, they will almost never have the chance to meet each other again. However, this idea had appeared in her mind, but in the end she still did not make up her mind to do it. But now, as long as he said that he didn't like her and didn't want to see her again, she could go through the transfer procedures immediately. She could disappear from his sight in an instant. Jiao Chen always had a calm expression on his face, until he heard that she said she wanted to transfer to another school. His expression couldn't help but change. He pursed his lips and tightened the hands hanging by his sides. After a while, he frowned and asked her, Shen Xian, do you want to transfer to another school? Jiao Chen couldn't tell what kind of mood he was in. When he heard Shen Xian said that she wanted to transfer to another school, his heart suddenly became confused and he couldn't help but panic. However, he didn't know what he was panicking about. Shen Xian smiled, but her eyes were a little sad. Jiao Chen, if you don't want to see me, I can disappear from you. I didn't. Jiao Chen's voice was a little dry. I said, I never hated you. Shen Xian, you don't need to be like this. If I make you feel uncomfortable, you don't want to be in the same class with me, I can go to other classes. But you really don't have to change schools. If you really want to transfer to another school, let me go instead. Jiao Chen looked at her and said word by word, I can transfer to another school. Shen Xian was stunned and looked at him in astonishment. Jiao Chen also looked at her, with emotions that Shen Xian couldn't understand surging in his eyes. So Shen Xian, you don't need to transfer to another school. If one of us has to leave, that person should be me, not you. Shen Xian looked at him blankly, her lips moved but she didn't say a word. She wanted to say something, but nothing came out. Second miss. At this time, a middle-aged man's voice sounded from behind, saying respectfully, "Second miss, it's time for you to get in the car. You have to accompany your wife to the banquet in a while, so you can't waste any more time." Shen Xian took a deep look at Jiao Chen, turned around with red eyes and said to the driver standing behind her, "Well, let's go." After saying that, she followed the driver and turned around and left. Jiao Chen watched her get into the black Bentley until the black Bentley drove into the street, and then he slowly looked back. Shen Xian left. Her red eyes always appeared in Jiao Chen's mind. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1085. Chapter 1085. His illness should not cause too much emotional ups and downs. I with grievance and pain. For some reason, he felt as if his heart had been stabbed by something, and a slight pain came from the heart. He actually wanted to tell her that he didn't want to be indifferent to her. He felt uncomfortable when he treated her like that. It's just that he doesn't want to give her any hope anymore. So, he was kind to everyone, except for her, who was cold and distant. Then she thought he hated her. How did she know that if he really hated her, he wouldn't even give her a chance to pester him? How could he let her pester him for 3 whole years? Asterisk. Jiao Mian saw Jiao Chen standing at the school gate from a distance. Jiao Chen was born well and had fair skin. At first glance, he looked like a handsome boy in a cartoon, and his appearance was quite eye-catching. He stood under a sycamore tree. In the evening, the breeze passed by and the afterglow of the setting sun fell down. The young man in white clothes standing under the tree has a delicate face and a slightly pale face. Because of his thin body, the white t-shirt on his body looks a bit too wide. But this does not detract from his outstanding appearance. Girls passing by him would blush and glance at him secretly. Mo Yesi also saw his brother-in-law. Seeing every girl passing by Jiao Chen peeking at him, Mo Yesi couldn't help but joked, "It seems that Chen Chen is very popular with girls in school. Are you worried about his premature love?" Jiao Mian is of course aware of her brother's charm. She already knew that Jiao Chen was very popular in school. The two siblings used to go to the same school. Before she graduated from that school, Jiao Chen was the school's president. How can I not be popular with girls? At that time, there were countless girls who delivered love letters and breakfast to Jiao Chen. But she knows her brother very well. So I am not worried at all about Jiao Chen falling in love prematurely. Moreover, if Jiao Chen really fell in love early, he would tell her. The siblings have no secrets about many things. Besides, she never thought about Jiao Chen falling in love early. For her, as long as it didn't affect her studies and both of them knew how to interact appropriately, it would be fine. But Jiao Chen's current situation is not suitable for falling in love. His illness cannot cause too much emotional ups and downs, and he is most likely to lose his temper when he is in love. This will have an impact on his body. I told Chen Chen that he won't have puppy love now. His body has just recovered a little, and he knows that falling in love will affect him. Jiao Mian said this, but she was still a little worried in her heart. She didn't know about Jiao Chen and Shen Xian before. Now that I know it, I will worry about it. If Jiao Chen doesn't feel anything for Shen Xian, it's okay. But judging from Jiao Chen's state that day, he clearly had feelings for Shen Xian. This made Jiao Mian a little worried. Well, Chen Chen's current state is not suitable for dating. Mo Yesi knew Jiao Chen's illness. He thought about it and then said, "But don't worry too much. After a while, you can give him. Chen Chen has undergone surgery. After the operation, Chen Chen will be like a normal person." Really, Jiao Mian turned her head and looked at him with dark eyes. After the operation, Chen Chen can really be like a normal person? Mo Yesi, can you tell me the truth? Give Chen Chen the surgery. Are the risks high for surgery? There was a red light just ahead. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1086. Chapter 1086. Do you want to go back with me? Yessie stopped the car, reached over and gently held one of her hands, squeezed her palm and comforted her. If someone else performs the surgery on Chen Chen, I can't guarantee how high the success rate will be, and I can't guarantee whether it will be successful. There will be risks. But I will perform the surgery myself, and I guarantee you that there will be absolutely no risks. I will make Chen Chen become a normal person. Trust me, baby. The little worry and anxiety in Xiao Mianmian's heart slowly turned into peace of mind with his unequivocal assurance. She believed him. If he says there is no problem, then there is absolutely no problem. Xiao Mianmian couldn't help but feel a lot better when she thought that Xiao Chen would become like a normal person soon, and she would no longer have to worry about him having a heart attack. She looked at the man beside her, with a pleasant smile on her face, and nodded. Well, Yessie, I believe you. Asterisk. 2 minutes later. Yessie's car stopped at the gate of Yunchinj No. 1 Lieutenant Colonel. Xiao Chen recognized the car he drove. As soon as the car parked, he walked over. Seeing him approaching, Xiao Mian lowered the car window and waved to him from inside the car. Chen Chen, get in the car. After Xiao Chen got in the car, he obediently called me sister, and then he obediently called me brother-in-law. Yessie responded to him and said in a gentle tone, your sister and I haven't decided what to eat tonight yet. If there is anything you want to eat, we will take you there. The high school that Xiao Chen attended was under a closed management model. Except for weekends, students usually live on campus. And during the period of residence, students are not allowed to leave the school. He usually eats in the school cafeteria. Although the food in the cafeteria is not bad, he is tired of eating it every day. Today he could finally improve his food. He was not polite to his sister and brother-in-law, but directly mentioned a barbecue restaurant that he had always wanted to go to but was reluctant to go to. The consumption of barbecue restaurants is still very high for ordinary people. But for Yessie, it is naturally not considered high consumption. He is not very interested in barbecue and other things. Feeling unhealthy. But since it was what his brother-in-law wanted to eat, he had to accompany the siblings even if he didn't like it. After deciding the place for dinner, he was about to ask Wei Zheng to book the place in advance when he received a call from MRSMO. Yessie answered the phone for a few minutes. After hanging up the phone, he frowned and said, I might not be able to go to the barbecue restaurant tonight. I'll have to go another day. Xiao Chen said sensibly, brother-in-law, just go and do your business if you have something to do. You can have barbecue anytime. His brother-in-law is a person who does great things. It is natural to put career first. He can understand. What's the matter? Xiao Mian thought he had encountered something at work, and said very considerately, if you have work to do, just go do your thing. Chen Chen and I will have dinner tonight. It's not a work matter. Yessie glanced at Xiao Chen in the rearview mirror, and then said, Mom called me just now. She asked me to go home for dinner. She said Grandma hadn't seen me in a few days and missed me. Hearing that it was MRSMO who called, Xiao Mian was silent for a moment. When it comes to MRSMO, all she can think of are unpleasant memories. Yessie also knew that some of the things MRSMO did were excessive, which caused his wife to suffer a lot of injustice. He looked at Xiao Mian for a while and then said, do you want to go back with me? Grandma hasn't seen you for a while, and she asked about you on the phone just now. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1087. Chapter 1087 Your brother-in-law is here, don't worry. He knew that Jiao Mian liked the old lady, so he moved the old lady out. Sure enough, when the old lady asked about her, Jiao Mian finally said, I haven't seen grandma for a while, and I miss her very much. Then I'll go back with you. But Chen. Jiao Mian couldn't bear to leave Jiao Chen alone. Sister, you don't have to worry about me. You can go with your brother-in-law. I'll have no problem eating alone, Jiao Chen said sensibly. No matter how good his relationship with Jiao Mian was, he knew that his sister was different now that she had a family. Now that she has a husband, she naturally has to put her current family first. But the more sensible he became, the more reluctant Jiao Mian was to leave him alone. It turns out that the siblings haven't seen each other for a while. How could she be willing to give up? Yes, he could see that she was reluctant to let Jiao Chen go. He thought for a moment and said, Chen, come with us. Your sister and I are already married, and we are a family. You haven't met the rest of my family yet. Jiao Chen's expression suddenly changed. Brother-in-law, it's better not to die. He was extremely nervous. You really don't need to worry about me. I'm usually alone. I'm used to it. Jiao Chen has an instinctive fear of meeting his elders. Moreover, he was the elder on his brother-in-law's side, so he was even more frightened. You come with us. Yes, he always had a strong character. Regardless of whether he wanted to or not, he just decided the matter. Sooner or later you have to go, so you might as well go earlier. Brother-in-law, I. Jiao Chen's face turned pale with fright, and he wanted to refuse. I really don't need to go, I'm not prepared at all. You don't need to prepare anything. Yes, he looked at his frightened look and stuttered, curled his lips and said with a smile, it's just a home-cooked meal, just relax. Besides, what's so good about you? I'm afraid, my family is not a savage beast. What will they do to you? With me and your sister here, are you still afraid of someone looking down on you? Jiao Chen, no. He is simply nervous and scared. Thinking about how wealthy his brother-in-law is, he must not come from an ordinary family. Then his family members are definitely not ordinary people. Sister, do I have to go? Jiao Chen finally figured it out. It was useless to tell Moyesi not to go, so he had no choice but to turn to Jiao Mian for help. Jiao Mian never thought that Moyesi would ask Jiao Chen to go with him. She hesitated for a moment and asked softly, Chen, will you come with us? There's nothing wrong with it. Moyesi reached out and touched her head. Our two families will meet sooner or later. It's just a dinner, so you don't need to be too nervous. Just be casual. Jiao Mian hesitated for a few seconds and nodded, okay then. She turned to Jiao Chen and said, Chen, then you can come with us. Jiao Chen wailed, sister. Jiao Mian also looked at her funny, your brother-in-law is here, don't worry. Actually, Jiao Mian didn't really want Jiao Chen to be with them. She was not worried about anything else. She was worried that MRSMO would make Jiao Chen suffer. MRSMO doesn't like her, so naturally it's impossible for her to like Jiao Chen. It was okay for her to suffer a little grievance from MRSMO. She was reluctant to let Jiao Chen suffer the same grievance. But Moyesi was right. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1088. Chapter 1088, so rich that it scares him. When they get married, they become a family. Jiao Chen will have to meet other members of the Mo family sooner or later. There is an old lady in the Mo family, so MRSMO will be a little cautious about what she does. Even if she feels uncomfortable, she probably won't show it too obviously. Thinking of this, Jiao Mian felt a little relieved. Anyway, with Moyesi with them, he couldn't just watch the two siblings suffer. Asterisk. An hour later, with Jiao Chen's stunned and shocked expression, Mo Yesi parked the car outside the gate of the main building. Jiao Chen looked at the white palace-like building in front of him and spoke, his voice trembling, "Sister, brother-in-law. Is this your home?" Mo Yesi turned off the car and curled his lips and said, "Yeah." Jiao Chen's eyes widened in shock again. He asked Jiao Mian again, "Sister, is this really my brother-in-law's home?" Jiao Mian knew how he was feeling at the moment. The first time she followed Mo Yesi back to Mo's house, she felt the same as Jiao Chen. "I was shocked by the area and luxury of Mo's house." "Well, this is your brother-in-law's home." Jiao Mian looked back at him and said with a smile, "Your brother-in-law is a rich man, and you didn't know that until now." Jiao Chen. Of course he knows that his brother-in-law is a rich man. The first time we met, I gave him a watch worth over 1 million yuan, and also gave him a card with a deposit of over 10 million yuan, saying it was his pocket money. Moreover, his brother-in-law's garage is full of luxury cars worth at least several million. He calculated the money for those cars alone, and it was hundreds of millions. His brother-in-law is not only rich, but also extremely rich. He is a super wealthy man. So Jiao Chen had guessed Mo Yesi's identity, and he knew in his heart that his brother-in-law must also have a prominent family background. But he felt that he still underestimated the prominence of his brother-in-law's family background. This is the first time that Jiao Chen has a concrete and clear concept of a real mansion. The Jiao family was considered wealthy before they fell into poverty. Also live in a luxury house and drive a luxury car. But compared with his brother-in-law's house, the so-called mansion of Jiao's family is not even qualified to be mentioned. Her sister didn't just marry into a wealthy family. Still married into a super wealthy family. Jiao Chen was already very nervous, but now he was even more shocked by the mansion in front of him, making his legs weak and scared. He even had the idea of escape. God, his brother-in-law's family must be too rich. He is so rich that it scares him. How did his sister meet his brother-in-law and marry him? He is really curious. Uncle Zhang had been waiting outside early. Mo Yesi got out of the car first, then waited for Jiao Mian to get off the car, put his arms around her waist and waited for Jiao Chen in the back car to get off. After a few seconds, Jiao Chen also got out of the car. As soon as Zhang Bo finished greeting everyone, he saw Jiao Chen getting out of the trunk. He was stunned for a moment and quickly reacted. He asked with a smile, "Is this gentleman the brother of the second young madam?" "Hello, Mr. Jiao, I am the housekeeper of Mo House, you can call me Uncle Zhang." As Uncle Zhang spoke, he couldn't help but look at Jiao Chen a few more times. He looked at Jiao Chen and then at Mo Yesi, and was secretly surprised. The second young lady's brother looks somewhat similar to the second young master. The eyebrows and nose are quite similar. Looking back at the second young lady, she is not very similar to her brother. Although the two siblings are both extremely good-looking, their facial features are indeed not very similar. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1089. Chapter 1089. Who is his brother-in-law? I guess one is like my father and the other is like my mother. No matter who they look like, they can see that their family's genes are very good, and their parents must be a combination of handsome men and beautiful women. This younger brother of the second young madam is very well born and has an outstanding appearance, but his complexion is not very good. Looking sickly. Jiao Chen immediately greeted Uncle Zhang. "Hello, Uncle Zhang, I am Jiao Chen." Uncle Zhang couldn't help but look at him twice more, and said with a smile, "The kitchen is already preparing dinner. Is there anything that Mr. Jiao needs to avoid? I'll ask the kitchen people to pay attention." This Mr. Chiao is really similar to the second young master. At a glance, they look like two brothers. But, he felt that the real resemblance between Mr. Chiao and the second master of their family was true. If he is 3 to 4 points similar to the second young master, then he and the second master are 7 to 8 points similar. If the second master saw him, he would definitely be surprised. His eyes really look exactly like the second master's. Chiao Chen was a little flattered when he heard what Uncle Zhang said, and immediately replied, "I can eat anything, there is nothing I should avoid." "That's good." Uncle Zhang smiled, turned his head and said respectfully to Mo Yesi, "Second young master, madam, and the old lady are already waiting." Mo Yesi nodded and looked down at Chiao Mian, "Then let's go in." Asterisk. The three of them walked into the hall. Chiao Chen originally thought that what she saw before was enough to shock him. Unexpectedly, something even more shocking was to come. He looked at the luxurious palace-like hall in front of him, and he didn't come back to his senses for a long time. For the concept of luxury homes, he had only seen it on TV and in some magazines. So I don't know what a real mansion looks like. Now, he sees it. It was a much more shocking picture than he imagined. In the eyes of ordinary people, the Chiao family can be considered a wealthy family. But Chiao Chen felt that there was really no comparison between his family and his brother-in-law's family. They are not on the same level at all. Compared with his brother-in-law's family, the Chiao family seems like a slum. He is particularly curious now. Who is his brother-in-law? With such wealth, one must have a certain status and power in Yunchinj. But why didn't his sister tell him about his brother-in-law's identity? Does his sister not know who her brother-in-law is? Chiao Chen was extremely nervous to begin with. When he saw the old lady and Mo sitting in the living room, he was even more nervous and didn't dare to take a breath. He was a little over 1.8 meters tall, but he huddled behind Chiao Mian with his head buried, as if he wanted to dig a hole in the ground and hide himself immediately. "Mian, you are finally back." As soon as Chiao Mian entered the hall, she was warmly greeted by the old lady. The servant helped the old lady get up. With the help of the servant, she slowly walked up to Chiao Mian and Mo Yesi. The grandson didn't bother to take a look, so he took Chiao Mian's hand and took her to greet her. "I heard that I said that you went to film in another place. How is it? Are you still used to being outside? Are you getting along well with your colleagues? No one is bullying you, right?" The old lady doesn't like Chiao Mian's current career very much. "But it really hurts if I hurt her." Originally, Chiao Mian's appearance was the kind of appearance that would please her elders. Mo didn't like her because of her family background and because of Shenro. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1090. Chapter 1090. An old man and a young man sing together. As for the things that Mo cares about, the old lady doesn't care that much. She just thinks her grandson likes it. As long as the woman is not a mess, she can accept it. In addition, Chiao Mian was very sweet-tongued in front of her. So the old lady was very satisfied with this beautiful and sweet-mouthed granddaughter-in-law. Compared to the old lady, Mo, who was still sitting, had no expression on her face. This time, even the most basic polite smile was gone on her face. When she looked at Chiao Mian, her eyes were full of disgust and dissatisfaction. She really didn't understand how such a shrewd old lady could be fooled by a little girl. Obviously the old lady is also a person who pays attention to being well matched. Now he actually doesn't care about Chiao Mian's poor background at all. She also said that as long as her grandson likes her, it's fine, and her background doesn't matter. Since family background is not important, why didn't she get together with that poor boy back then? Instead, she married Mr. Mo, who was from the same family as hers. She herself pays attention to being well matched, but when it comes to her grandson, she doesn't pay much attention to it. She gets angry whenever she thinks about the fact that Jiao Mian asked her to give up all the shares of the Mo family before she would divorce Mo Yesi. How could such a greedy woman be worthy of her precious son? Seeing the old lady and Mo Yesi treating Jiao Mian like a baby, she became angrier and angrier. The more she thought about it, the more she felt suffocated. She couldn't help but said sourly, "Mom, please don't worry about her. Who would dare to bully her? Your grandson treats her like a treasure, how can she be allowed to suffer injustice from others?" The old lady heard the sourness in her words, but pretended she didn't know. She turned her head and looked at her, and said with a smile, "Isn't that right? Mian is ACI's baby. If he, the husband, is left to someone else, bullying his wife is not a good husband." Besides, the old lady seemed not to notice Mrs. Mo's darkened face, but she still smiled. Mian is the daughter-in-law of our Mo family. If anyone dares to bully her, my old lady will be the first to support her. Our Mo family, if a person is bullied by others, wouldn't that be a joke? As soon as the old lady finished speaking, Mo Yesi hooked up his lips and said, "That's what Grandma said." The old and the young sing together. "And they are all towards Jiao Mian. Mrs. Mo was so angry that her face turned black. She felt as if she had become an outsider in the family. She was full of anger, but in front of the old lady, she did not dare to express her temper. At home, the person she fears the most is the old lady. With the old lady around, she had to restrain her temper. "By the way, Mian, I heard from ACI that your brother is here too." The old lady didn't pay much attention to Mrs. Mo. After saying a few words to her, her eyes fell on Jiao Chen, who was standing behind Jiao Mian. After looking at it for a few times, he said with a smile, "Is that handsome young man behind you your brother?" When the old lady asked, Jiao Mian pulled the cowardly Jiao Chen out from behind. "Grandma, this is my brother Jiao Chen. He is 2 years younger than me and is still in high school." Chen, this is Grandma, call Grandma quickly." Jiao Chen was originally a little scared and nervous. But when he met the old lady's gentle and loving eyes, his nervousness immediately disappeared a lot, and he was no longer so scared. End of this chapter.